Alright, it looks like we are live. Let me go ahead and minimize OBS here on my other screen and maybe mute myself. There we go. Sorry if there's any feedback there, but hey everybody, it's Sam, the Reclaimer developer here, and this is the stream for January, and for anyone who's watching this, I do apologize for not having more of a formal schedule, but things have just been a little bit hectic this past month with trying to get everything wrapped up, but let me go ahead and just sort of explain everything that's going on. So I started the month wanting to work on asset tables, and those are pretty much done at the moment. We have another topic that another thing I was gonna work on was the website, which I've secured the domain, and the Reclaimer, the WordPress site is live, but there were some technical issues with that, and that I hope to have resolved soon, but I will be resuming construction on the website as best I can. It was my hope to have the monthly stream schedule on the website, since I don't know if it's just because I'm an absolute Twitch noob, but I have been unable to figure out how to do the scheduling and whatnot. I've got my chat open on my laptop here. Okay, so I can see if anybody pops into the chat and wants to say hi. But anyway, today we're just going to be finalizing the asset tables, and I'll go ahead and show the state of the game first and foremost. So, and my dog is in the background just having a ball with a toy. So, she'll be our little comedic relief for tonight. But anyway, so a lot of this is going to be looking very familiar for the foreseeable future. So, you'll notice that the skybox is a little different. I'm using this was a method that sort of illustrates how the skybox works. So you can see we have the positive X, negative Z, negative X, and positive Z face of the skybox, in addition to, let me see if I can find it. Where's Y plus? It's somewhere. I don't know where it went. It's got away from us, but it's there, trust me. But this was just to calibrate loading skyboxes from a single image, because originally how that skybox worked, like with the sky and mountains and everything, is there was 6 different files, one for each face, and it loaded all the files individually. But with our asset tables, oh shoot, I think I have the debug system turned off. Let me go ahead and see if I can fix that really quick, because I was running into some really weird errors. Let's see. And this is something I'm going to get into a little bit later, because I was kind of all over the place for this month, unfortunately. Let me see. Let me uncheck that and build the XZ. We'll go ahead and launch that and just see if our DevTools are working. So far, so good. Yeah, we're fine. So with these asset tables, we have just single files that we pretty much all asset types are going to be loaded from. So there's going to be a asset table for or an asset file for all images, one for all sounds, and we've also got one for all models, but I wasn't sure how I wanted the debug tools for that to work. So, yeah. We just have the textures right now. So, and how this works is I can just click on one and it'll load it up from the asset file. And it's literally just storing the raw data exactly how the reclaimer needs to interpret it. So let me go ahead and show you what one of these asset files look like. So let me pull up this, and this isn't going to look very interesting, but it's how it works. And so I've decided to make these asset files, the extension is .raf, which stands for Reclaimer Asset File. And you can see here, like in plain text, there is a plain text tag that describes what the asset is. And you can see there's Adam's text box, or Adam's texture, which is, you know, the green dude here. And there's the default skybox, which is the which is this new kind of gray, not really fantastic looking image, but it just helps me to understand the layout of how this works. And it's being read top down, which reads a lot faster than if the whole image was stored like right to left. Like if like all the faces were stored like this, it would read a lot slower than, because it just literally reads this line by line, and I know how tall each image is. So I could also pull up Adam's texture, and you can see there's a little problem here today. And what I wanted to do today, or this evening, it's sort of the last day of January's work, so I'm just going to try to clean some stuff up and talk to some people if they want to hop into the stream, and go from there. See if I can get these images scaling correctly. That would be awesome. And other than that, maybe just clean up some API stuff, because I've got some messy API calls. And you probably just saw this, but here's another random thing I want to get rid of. Like, watch this texture asset window when I close it. Yeah, so like, did you see like that flash of colors right there? It looks like it was like deinitializing the memory, and there was a bunch of garbage in there before it closed the window. So if that's the case, I probably just need to close the window, then deallocate the memory, because it looks like it's sort of wrapping all that stuff up and like disposing of it before like its last draw call, and so there's that flash of garbage on the screen. But anyway, there's another thing that I added when I probably should have been working on stuff for the website. I decided to pretty much do the same thing with all the shaders, because I was running into this issue of having multiple instances of the shader. So it's like I have the one that I'm writing, and I have the one that's being copied to the bin directory. So let me give you an example. So like, here's the textured model shader. So like, this is the vertex shader for anytime a model that has a texture buffer, it will go through this, basically. And we have the the view projection and stuff. I optimized a few things, but what I also did is I put all of these in a table. And so whenever the rendering library recompiles, it rebuilds that table of all shaders, pretty much doing the same exact thing. And I'll pull this up. And because this is all ASCII, you can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on here. So it gives me I have these a set of indexes in the file that tell me how to interpret it. So the in plain text, I have the like the relative path in the system, like where the original shader was being pulled from. And then I have, where is it? Yeah, right here. And then if you scroll down, here's like the actual shader code. And so the reason I do that is a lot of people will either have like shader files all over the place. And, you know, it's probably going to be literally the most common type of file. Like, you know, there could be thousands of individual shaders, like in a game engine or AAA game. Like, they're just all over the place. And there's multiple stages in a graphics pipeline. You have like vertex, geometry, tessellation, fragment shaders, like, and all of these add up to be one shader program in like each stage of the pipeline. So that's a lot of files to be going out to disk. And like some people, how they do this is they either like, you know, leave it as, you know, hey, just go read this file off the disk, or they hard code it into the game. And I decided to do sort of a middle ground where I just take all of the shaders and compress them into a file. And then on game startup, I read the entire thing into memory and parse it. So in memory, I have all the shaders, and they are indexed by their type. And so whenever I need to create a shader program, I just tell the shader program knows which rendering steps it needs, like which fragment shader, which vertex shader, and all that, and it just grabs them, compiles them together, and we're good to go. So, and I wish I had waited to pull the changes I was working on into this branch, because the game launches in half the time that it did beforehand. We are still oscillating at that 60 frames per second mark. On this machine, I don't think we're going to see too much increase in performance in that regard. Sorry, guys, I was just looking for my pupper. I think she went downstairs. But there's going to be more debug tools I want to add. I'd like to add another basically viewport for looking at 3D models. Like, pretty much like, imagine like, you know, how this looks right now. Like, this is just pretty much like a debug, you know, 3D asset viewer at the moment. It's not really a game of any caliber. But it's like, I'd like to take the functionality of like, hey, here's Atom, and then I could load up, like, you know, here's the, you know, assets, models, and then just the same way I would click on something like the Skybox to look at the texture data to just view 3D models, like in just like a little mini viewport or something like that. Turn on and turn off different stages of the rendering pipeline, or try it with different shaders or stuff like that. And with the flexibility of this shader table, I could potentially even have something like a shader editor within the, like, as one of the debug tools. Like, if something's not working, I could just edit the text, save it to the corresponding asset, or the corresponding shader table, and the shader file that's in the source, and just reload the shader program that it's using. And so that would be pretty slick if I could find a way to do that. But it's, you know, these are just bells and whistles. So I'm getting an idea of where I want what I want the game to be doing. And at the moment, we are just going to keep on trucking with this. Now, the goal for today is simply to get things cleaned up. And I'm going to go ahead and create a branch right now. So I'm going to log into my GitHub and do that. I probably should have done this before I started streaming, but that's okay. And for anyone who's watching who wanted to watch this, I do apologize. I will have a stream schedule set up that you can subscribe to, like, as a mailing list or something. And it'll, like, put it on your calendar if that's something you wanted to do. And I want to, you know, at the start of each month, I'd like to pick, like, a last day of the month where I'm going to stream. And if I can't make it, then, like, put out an announcement. So let me go ahead and create this branch really quick. And I'm just going to call it January Cleanup. And we will just go ahead and fetch that. And just as a sanity check, make sure we're up to date on everything. Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and close this, and we're gonna get to work. Yeah. So we are on, let's just make sure, yep, that's the branch we're on. Oops. Let's do a rebuild of everything. No, everything. And I think the problem that I'm going to tackle first is scaling those images that we saw, like let me go ahead and run this. It's better to, like, show things. So, pull up. So, like, this is Adam's texture right here. This little tiny thing. His texture is very, very small compared to something like the Skybox, like, which is absurdly huge. But at the same time, like, you can see that we have this border thing that really isn't working too well. So, what I'm going to try to do is simply to get these to scale properly. So, looks like we got a guest here on the stream, so feel free to say hi. Let me know how my audio levels are, if the music's too loud, too low, whatever, but welcome, and feel free to ask any questions. So, what I was explaining earlier is that I spent the month working on the asset tables for the Reclaimer, the game that I'm working on. And so, like, here's what it looks like. And you can see, like, this weird kind of skybox with, like, the big capital letters and stuff. Those are just marking the faces of the skybox. And I'll replace it with something a little bit prettier later. But this is what it looks like just as its raw form. And I know you can see, like, you know, the PNG and the JPEG here, but it's loading out of a compressed file with a .ref extension, which stands for Reclaimer Asset File. And it just pulls the data straight out of that file, and it only has one file handle. And the data is already stored in a way that the Reclaimer needs to read it, so it can read them absurdly fast compared to just reading them raw off the disk. Because if it just read JPEGs and PNGs and stuff, it would have to parse them, and it would have to figure out how to put the data into memory. But here, it's just like, you say, like, here's how big the file is, here's where the first byte of that asset data starts, here's how big it is, and you just serialize it to memory, and you're done. So, anyway, let's go ahead and we will start working on getting that to clean up. And before I get too much further, I think I will do a quick post to my social media to let my friendos drop in and say hello. Like, hello, I'm live coding I'm live coding the Reclaimer on Twitch. Come and say hi. All right. Just trying to bump my viewers up a little bit. I don't know, maybe my mom or something will drop in on the stream. Or my wife will jump into the chat and troll me again. That was a lot of fun. She had fun with that one. I did too, though. Anyway, so I think it was like assets debug or dev tools assets. So here is where we display the image. And I don't entirely know how I'mGUI does that. Like, I pulled this code out of another project I was working on for, like, I was trying to work on a program that would infuse HDR images together. So, high dynamic range. So, a few months ago, I was doing real estate photography, and Photoshop has a plugin called Infuse, or not Photoshop, Lightroom. And the Infuse algorithm is based on an academic white paper on how to basically blend images together pixel by pixel in such a way that was captured the most high dynamic range. It's also abysmally slow, and I was like, is there any way I can use a graphics pipeline to make this faster? Well, I was looking to make it a graphical tool, and I was using I'mGUI for it, so I just pulled this code out of it. But I still don't really know how to scale things properly, so I'm just going to start looking that up. So we see, we got I'mGUI image. Or will it tell me? It's like one thing I like about I'mGUI is a lot of the code is like self-documenting, so it's fairly easy to understand. Most of the methods are just very short, very straightforward. They don't do a whole bunch of crap that you don't have to do. So anyway, there's the size. So yeah, I'm passing in the vector size and vector UV0, UV1, tint, border color. Or is that exactly what I need to do, like, say, like, width and height there? But UV0 and UV1, I don't know what that means. Like, does it tell me? No. I mean, let's fuck around and find out, as they like to say. Scientific method. They could just shorten the scientific method to fuck around and find out. Let's go ahead and launch. See what we get. Oh, it's worse. Okay. That is worse. That didn't work. So, now, I don't know what they're expecting that to be, is the problem. So, let's see. ImGui image. Or would it be in like the demo? Because the demo is pretty much where you would go to look for anything. And that's not here. Oh, I think I deleted something I wasn't supposed to. I am a silly goose. Or is that exactly what I did? I am very forgetful sometimes, but let's just try that again. No, that was it. No, I got it wrong. But that more or less kind of looks how it's supposed to, like in terms of like the border. But I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's not displaying. But if that was literally just 5, like we got 5.0 and 5.0, that's it. If it was just that, it displays fine. But you, like, everybody saw that the skybox, or not the skybox, but just like the borders were slightly different. Or were they? Yeah, I don't... Well, what happens if it's like 1? And just to confirm, image, we got the texture ID, the size, you see, I wonder if it would scale it properly. I wish the documentation on ImGui was a bit better. Like, the comments in the code are very good, but sometimes that's pretty much all you got, and I just wish it was a little clearer. Oh, damn. Okay, I see what's going on now. 1-to-1. Oops. That's something. That's another bug I need to fix with the camera zoomies. Now. So that pretty much did that. Hey, get back here. Okay, so that's a little bit better, right? So we know now, like, how that scales, right? So so what it's doing is it's well, I'll tell you what. If I could get the details of this window, I could probably scale it properly, because I want to, like, you saw the, like, that skybox texture was just absurdly huge. Like, even looking at the reclaimer at its maximum width, like, I can't even, like, fit the whole thing on the screen. So like, I would at least want this to scale to something like, I don't know, like, at maximum be, you know, a quarter, like, the width would be at a quarter of the main window's real estate, right? So, so how about we start there? Can we, like, put a cap on it and, like, scale it? You know what I mean? So let's just go from there. Let's see if I can get the window details. And I gotta remember to use the right Google screen. Not that one. Yeah. So, on GUI get window. Find window by ID. Find window by name. Okay, I am GUI and find window by name, and the name is, of course, window name. So now we'll just say, and this type X would be just I'm GUI window, reference to that. Right, and so that should be valid syntax. And let's see what information we get by pulling that in. Close all this. I love synthwave music. It makes me happy. Let's see. Do we have anyone? Nope. That's okay. Alright, here we go. Let's just have it at the end of the function. Assets, textures, and then atom. Alright, and we don't need any of this information. And let's load in the window and see what we got. That's a lot of stuff. Awesome. So the dimensions size. I'm just gonna say we cap the let's just say the window is gonna be you know, maybe like a quarter of the like main program window's real estate. If it's, or we can just cap it at that, right? Because if it's smaller, it doesn't really matter. So let's just try that and go from there, right? So, can I just like set window size? Is there a method that I can call? Or how about this? Is there a set window size? Yeah, there is. So the vector to size. So, how about I just copy this and just put it in there? And so is that all it takes? There's no conditions. Is that valid, or do I need anything else? Oh, no, that's fine, apparently. So... that still didn't work. Or is it, like, not accounting for, like... I don't know. No, I didn't want to close it. Well, luckily it launches really quick because I'm a good programmer and I know how to make things fast. Anyway. It's very close, but it's like just a few pixels off, you know? Like, not that many. It's negligible. But I would also want to scale this. Yeah, it's not that many pixels, right? So I could also store this information. So let's say I want to create let's see, local, and I'm gonna say I am vec2 of, you know, window size. And we're gonna say window size. What's wrong? Why is... okay. I get frustrated with VS Code sometimes. Like, I should be able to not rely on like autocomplete and syntax highlighting and stuff like that, but it's like I get into a zone where I'm using it and like the syntax highlighting or autocomplete just dies without explanation. So it's really annoying. And so we can say y, and then this will be what do we have? Texture info, width, and size. We don't need that anymore. See, is this a... it's a float already, so we're fine. No, we're not. Okay. Let's just put that in there. Width will be that, and say height, right? Width, height, and then that should be fine. And then we'll set window size to our new vector. Initialize your list. I'm GUI vec2. Why are you not happy? Or what if I just say, you know, just leave it at that? So I don't really, like, I care, but it's just debug tools. It's okay if it's not perfect right now. Of course I want it to be as good as it can be. But right now, just getting the thing working is my primary concern. So let's go ahead and say, give it another 10 pixels and just see if that works. And so then we got something that we can scale properly if we can fit the whole thing onto the screen. Or what if I just say flat out 100 pixels? So we could just kind of like do kind of like a binomial approach. Like if that, okay, that was too big. So let's do like 50. Right. So textures, Atom, still a little too big. 25. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm gonna be restating things a lot just for people who show up. This is a game I've been working on in built from the ground up in C++, and I'm working on debug tools for properly displaying like game assets. So, okay, that's just short. So I think X 30 is fine. And then I think the lower half needs to be like even less. Or no, it needs to be more. But yeah, that's perfect. Yep. Let's go ahead and display, see what we got, and then we should have something that we can properly scale. You know what? Let's make it even bigger. You know, 35 by 35, that should be fine. I like working on stuff like this because, you know, like it's just debug stuff. It's not really something that's gonna affect the performance of the game too much. So it looks like we've got the whole thing in the image right now, so now we can scale it. And so what we can say is this is the scale, right? So, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, I am vec2 scale, right? And so what we can do is we're gonna say scale dot x equals, or really we can do this twice with f. And then just pass that in. I don't know if this is proper, but if I make it work and the terms are accurate, it doesn't really matter. So, so we'll go with that. Assets, textures, Atom, you know, we're still loading fine. So now, what I can try to do is we can just try to math this to sort of like hack it. Oh, one thing I want to make sure of is, so actually, because this is not going to work, because as soon as I try to reset this, it's going to come back. So this has to be in like the initialization stuff, right? So I would assume that I could do something like this. I don't know if this is valid syntax or not, but I'm going to try. That worked. So I assume I can just comment that out and we can, because local is just a macro that I have for static, and it just gives it a context. Unfortunately, in C, there's multiple meanings for static depending on how it's used. No, because it resets it every time. Yeah, I don't know what to do there. Because I set it, well, I could just, I don't really know how I want to handle that. because I would have assumed that the local, like when you keep something static, like in relationship to a function, like you set the value and the value will persist, but you can change it. You should be able to change it. I don't know why it did that. But anyway, let's just take care of this as well. So we built that and launch again. And we don't need this either. Right. So I could also well, okay, I know what's up. Because I am... What I could just say is, like, here's the original size. And only call it once. Right? So... and, like, once it's initialized, don't call it again unless the window size changes. Well, actually, we only need to set the window size one time. And then we just... Like, what's the original window size? And then that's our one-to-one scale. And then, as the window size changes, we can just do some, like, ratio math to figure out the scale of our image, right? So, so just basic algebra there. But I only want to have to set the window size once. I think in begin I should be able to, like, set a window size, right? Begin. So how many overloads do I have for this? Let's see. Because this, it'll solve this problem if I can call IamGUI, like, begin with a set size. GUI begin size. I don't know if it can take a vector. But if I were to do this... Okay. I'll be excited to get rid of at least one to-do tonight. And I'll probably be streaming for probably 2 hours or so. I've been, I think, live for about 30-ish minutes. But let's see if I can, like, set window size. Is that valid? No, it is not. I'm gonna feel really stupid if... Like, why can I not... Because the issue is it's always going to resize it. You know what I mean? So let's go back here. And what I could do is, like, this is silly, but I could just have a flag in here that's like, you know, flag set. Or I have an idea. So we know what the scale is. We are going to start this scale on like 1 to 1, right? And we know that because like the scale is the one we're going to be changing. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and rebuild, just because make those squigglies go away. If you're new to the stream, welcome. Looks like we have somebody here, and so what's going on here is I'm just wrapping up a sprint for this game, and I'm working on some debug tools to properly display texture information that I'm pulling out of a compressed file. So I have a proprietary asset file type that stores all of my asset information, and it just pulls that stuff out of the file and displays it. Let's see. And so that's the problem too, because we don't want this stuff to persist between calls. See, that's a problem. I wish I could have like a starting size, like, of a window. Like, I'm GUI window size. Gotta set a static window size. I don't know. I don't know how to persist that. But I don't want to waste anybody's time either, because I've been kind of fighting with this for a little bit. But you know, this aside, like, it works fine, like displaying stuff, like, you know, just new information. So when I open a texture, it's like, that's fine. I can see like the entire texture, but like, here's the problem. Whenever I let go of it, it snaps it back to normal, and I don't want it to do that. Like, the idea is I'd like to scale the image like as I'm resizing it. But like, it doesn't look like there's a way that I can call a window to be initialized passing in default values. Like, this is how this is the dimensions I want the window to start at. And that's kind of silly to me. Like, why would that not work? And I can't use static variables because more than one method is calling this. And those, so like, the problem with using static variables inside the function is if I use static variables to store the window size, whenever anyone else calls to display a texture, like if I display one texture and then display the next texture, that second texture is going to be initialized with the previous texture's dimensions, and I don't want that. So that's not good. unless I was doing something silly like, so this image info, I think that's, you know what? I can just use this to my advantage. So, where am I calling this from? Because what I could do is I could just store the scale in a pointer, right? Display, show assets, textures, texture info. Does this persist? Yeah, it does. So let's do this. If we pass this by reference, we should be able to do that, right? So let's do that. Okay, here's texture info. And if I'm passing by reference anyway, what I could do is just say, because I have this static list of textures, because in debug tools, that's, you know, that works just fine. I have a maximum amount of textures that are loaded, like, off the disk, and, so I don't need to, like, recreate this every single time. So let's just go ahead and do this, right? So textures is a, like a reference to, let's see, textures, texture type, tools, assets, textures. Yeah, it's a static variable. Like, I have, like, this many textures that are valid for the game, and it just stores those in memory. It's debug information. If it takes up a little bit more information, that's fine. I would expect there to be a lot more information than I would need on a debug system, you know? So, anyway, let's go ahead and do that. So, I'm just going to say, now we have, the texture info is the address at that type. And so we just replace this with that, and then we just, that's a pointer, so we can just pass it to our method now, right? And so then we do the same thing here. Texture display, textures at texture type, and we pass the address of it. And so what are we doing here? Reclaimer. I think that should be fine. If you're new to the stream, thanks for stopping by. Just working on some debug tools to help me display textures out of the proprietary, like, game asset file. Why are you not happy? Oh, like, yeah. So, no worries, no worries, no worries. Yep, and then 21, that was it. I think that was it. 6. Right? How's the audio? Can you hear okay? And feel free to ask any questions. You know, I'm not so busy that I won't stop to answer stuff. It's a pretty slow night, too. I've sort of gave myself these sprints to work on, so I'll go ahead and just explain that while I mean, it's already done building, but, like, I'm working on just, like, wrapping up some asset table stuff, and the asset tables are, like I said, it's like a file that's proprietary to the game that I'm working on, and it's like, there's one for each major asset type. Like, there's an asset file for textures, one for sounds, one for models and stuff like that, and it just loads one file into memory for each major type, and then when it needs to get one, it just reads it and serializes it to a structure. So what I'm working on right now is just a little bug that I've had where I've wanted to rescale an image using the debug tools. Like, let's say if a developer is working on the Reclaimer and they want to, there's like, oh, there's something wrong with the texture, let me see what's loaded into memory. and just be able to like click on the asset table on that texture and display it. I want them to be able to like see and look at it and stuff like that, because maybe the wrong file got loaded into the asset table or something like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and launch that and just make sure that everything's still fine. Yep, the skybox still loads fine. There's Adam's texture, that loads fine. And so like this is what the asset table looks like. And it's loading these, like the data for these images are compressed into a single file, and it's stored in such a way that it is exactly the format the game needs to read it in order to like send it to the graphics processor. So like stuff like a PNG and a JPEG, they have proprietary information, not proprietary, but like they're files that need to be parsed, and that takes time. So I pre-parsed them, stored them in files, and I just keep a handle open to one file, which is the asset table, and load it into memory. And it's pretty darn fast. But anyway, we know that works. So now, what we can do is in our image information, we can store a scale, right? So image info. And so I'm just going to say we take this information straight up and store it, right, to scale. Should be fine for us to store that. Just fine. Hello, welcome to the stream. I think we got a new person here. Please feel free to tell me how my audio is sounding. I'm just gonna double check OBS and make sure that, I haven't done something silly like mute myself. But hope you guys are having a wonderful evening, and thanks for dropping by. Just working on some last minute stuff for this month's sprint. I call it a sprint. I don't know if I'm that formal yet. But anyway. So, and I'm just gonna say window size again. To window size. You know what? I'm not even gonna say like window scale. So that should be fine. And then now we can initialize those in our function that we were working on earlier right here, right? And so our scale starting off is going to be 1:1. And if anyone's had any experience with I'm GUI or something, please feel free to tell me. And again, anybody's welcome to ask questions at any time. I'm not going to be busy to the point where I don't want to take a break and just say hello to people. So, welcome. So, imvec2. I don't know if this is valid syntax, but we're going to find out. Like I say, they can just condense the scientific method to fuck around and find out. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are fucking around and we are finding out. So we've got Windows scale, and now we've got Windows size. Texture, info, window size equals that. We're also going to say it's, a constructor of that, and just pass those two things into it. Right. So and then the static plus 35 thing, that's just to account for borders on the window and whatnot, like for scroll bars and things like that. So I think that is gonna be fine. And then back up here, we will set window size to... Texture info, window size, and then down here we just say texture info scale. And that should work. It should be fine. Unless I forgot a semicolon. Which, if you forget semicolons, who knows what can happen. Okay? And let's just do a sanity check and make sure that we are still doing stuff as we expect it. Which is fine. I hate storing booleans and structs. I hate that. But I don't know what else to do. Because I'm storing that stuff now. Because I have to set that at least once, right? So, and we're back to the issue with, we're back to the issue of, I can't pass in a default value, it looks like. So, let's see. Oh, our music went off. Let me go ahead and pick a new, copyright-free, DRM-free playlist. And, yeah, please feel free to ask questions. Also, if there's any I'm GUI experts out there, I would appreciate some assistance. So let's see. I'm GUI begin. Let's see. It starts a new window. Its calls made after this and before the corresponding end will be applied to current window. There has to be some way to set a default value. Like, I'm GUI window flags. There's no overloads, though. So if I do that, this. This sucks. I wish there was a way to just pass in a default window size. If I could do that, this would be over and done with. Let's see. I'm GUI window initial size. The next window position and size, but still be able to move and scale it. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm GUI condition first use ever flag on these functions. You will overwrite the position every frame you make the call, so that prevents you from moving or resizing them. What you want to do is set a default, use those condition parameters when making the call. First use ever. That makes sense. How to specify window content region. First use ever. That still doesn't really explain anything. Well, how about we just like search for it in the demo, right? Demo.cpp. And of course it's not there. Doggone it. Oh, okay. Set next window size. Okay, I think I got it. I got it. That's it. Okay, so how about we just do ourselves a favor and copy that. I knew there had to be a way to do that. There had to be a way to do that. I'm just silly. Alright, so set the next window size to that. And that's going to be the first use ever for it, right? Okay, so the window size is going to be the texture info window size, right? And then I should be able to just comment this out. And I don't need to set the window size anymore. Right? Awesome, that did it. So now I have that and I can scale it properly. Right? So but I probably need to store the first one, like the starting size, to know how much to scale it, right? So why don't we go ahead and do that? Or do I? No, I do. Yeah, I hate doing that, but I'm going to say starting window scale, right? And so that one will be static. Like, no, I'm just going to just say that, and let's just make a copy of it and say starting window scale, right? And so let's go back up the top. I know this may seem a little odd to like format things this way. I just like everything to be like aligned. It's kind of like an OCD thing, you know. And so what we can do is, if the window size changes from its original its starting value, then we know how much to scale it by, right? So we can just do some ratios to figure out the scale. Anyway, and let's go ahead and do that. So we've started. So what we're gonna do now is, I'm GUI get window size, and I think that should be I might not even need this right here. I'm just gonna say starting window. No, it's starting window size. Excuse you. Let me just do a search and replace on that really quick. Size replace. settings all. And again, if you are new to the stream, welcome. Feel free to ask any questions. Right now I'm just working on some debug tools to properly display textures. Like as if it would appear like in a file browser. So you don't have to like go to the file explorer, load the file, and see if like... I want to just be able to show like, here is what the game loaded into memory. So starting window size. Right, and so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna say, like, I'm GUI vec, or is it vec2, current window size, and so we can make this really easy, and so we can say texture info dot scale, window scale is gonna be current window size dot dot x. See, let's just, because they have overloaded operators, right? So we might be able to just make this one call, but I'm gonna do it manually first, and then we can, because like I know this should work, right? And then it'll be texture info dot starting window size dot x. And texture info. Now let's see. The bigger it is, like the bigger the scale is, the smaller it is. Anyway, I don't know. By the time I have it figured out, I could have brute forced it. So we're just gonna just do this here. Dot y. Right. And so that just gets passed in. Right? So we should be good to go on that. Make sure I'm still recording. Yeah, I'm recording. Let's just see what happens. If it behaves weirdly when we start to scale it, we'll just flip those values around. Yep, it's getting smaller. But, you see, that's exactly what I was looking for. That's exactly it. How it gets, like, bigger and smaller. But that viewport needs to be fixed as well. Right? So... so this is what I was talking about. We can just flip these guys around. All right, and so let's go ahead and launch that. And pull up one of our assets. Yes, and so this does scale, but that viewport in there needs to be resized as well. So we're on the right track to getting this to scale properly. I want this thing here, whatever it is, to scale to that size. So awesome, that's working. But I don't know how to get that other thing to scale. Well, probably... I could just do a difference on, like, current window minus starting window, and then just add it to these right here, because I think that's what that is, right? So let's just do that then. So I think that'll do it. Hello, Seraph. My kitty cat has decided to say hello. Let me let him say hello to everybody. This is Seraph, and he is a sweetheart. He will be the code cat. Yes, he's just gonna settle down on my lap. We've been blessed with an ultra rare Seraph tonight. He is a sweetheart. Now let's think about this. We just want to update this by whatever our difference is, right? So, and honestly, we might not even need to use the scale, right? Because just updating this might work. Because I think it's like pixel based or something. But anyway, let's just do that, right? And so we've got texture info dot, come on, type. I cannot type. Width. Oh, okay, right. We're gonna be adding to that the difference, and it's not gonna be an absolute value. So we want to know, like, if we made it bigger, we'll want to do like current minus like starting. Current minus starting. Right? And so we'll do that. And so we can just do the same thing with the height. So we just want to add those two together. Just increment it. It's like whatever the difference was. Now let's see if that works. Okay, let's pull up Adam's texture. Oh, snap. Okay, we don't want to do that. That didn't work. So what I think we want to do is only if it's different, right? So, current minus starting. But that should be 0, right? So let's debug that. But hang on a second. I want to see what that did, and I can close this before it gets too crazy. So textures and Adam. Yeah, that's scaling it. But I don't know why. That means it's not 0, which concerns me a little bit. So let's just go ahead and debug that. Size X, size X. Why did it do that? I don't know. I don't know, man. Hey, how's it going? Aaron TV? How are ya? How you doing tonight? So, doing just fine. just working on wrapping up a little sprint for the game that I'm working on, and working on displaying like asset information. Taking a break off deving. Like, what project are you working on? Like, tell me a little bit about it. Like, and this is an example of what the game looks like. And what I'm working on is, like, I want to have a way for, like, the game's debug tools to display textures that it has in memory. So, and, like, what I'm working on is, like, it appears that there's a bug where even if I don't resize anything, it does this weird thing where it's like, these two values should be the same if I didn't scale it. So I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, but you said you're deving, right? Oh, okay. Voxel RPG that looks like an 8-bit Game Boy game, but 3D environment, 2D characters, and the game will slowly become a 16-bit SNES. Nice. I like that art style. Are you using an engine or anything like that? Or are you, like, and, you know, just because I'm doing something from scratch, it's like, I have no problems with engine whatsoever. So you, like, which one, what's its architecture? Tell me a little bit about that. RPG in a box. Nice. I think I've heard of that. Like, do people use that to... Ah, Godot. Nice. Yeah, that one's becoming increasingly popular. This one is built from the ground up, but just because I'm stubbornly defiant, is it takes longer, but it uses a very limited subset of C++. So, like, I don't use any, like, classes, templates, or inheritance. It's mostly C, just compiled in C++ mode. Just because it's possible. I'm just kind of doing things really old school is all. Have you released any titles? I can show you pics of mine if you want. If you can share pics in the chat, sure. Or I'll pull them up. Like, if they can be sent somehow, I'll, like, pull it up and show it. So, and this will be posted to YouTube later, so it's like people can, like, see what you have going on. So, and the YouTube channel name is just called The Reclaimer. But yeah, feel free to subscribe if you like. Okay, so you got that. Okay, my frame rate's dropping a little bit while I'm pulling up OBS. Actually, just to be safe, I'm gonna load things up over here. Okay. Oh, nice. That is really neat. It looks kind of like a mix between, like, Minecraft and Pokemon. Like Pokemon Red and Blue. Oh. That is really cool. Well done. I like it. What's it called? Well done. I love the color palette. Good job, my dude. Like, the Kingdom of Alon, the New Age. You're very welcome. So, I'll give a little bit of backstory about the game that I'm working on. So, and what you're seeing right now is, like, basically nothing. So, it's mostly just, like, a sandbox that I'm really focused on, like, a lot of the low-level systems right now. Like, how it reads things off of disks, how it manages memory. Like, there's going to be custom allocators out the wazoo. Test zone. This, yeah. And it's mostly just getting things off the ground and how things look as they're rendered and, like, testing with shader, rendering pipelines and stuff like that. And so I'm just kind of doing some last minute cleanup for this month. Like, I'll show you a schedule of, like, what I wanted to do this year. So this year is about, like, mostly the low level systems, and I'm just wrapping up stuff for the asset tables. And so the asset tables is like all of the asset information, email notifications. Thank you. How about we not do that? You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you for the heads up. That should be off. But anyway, so yeah. So asset tables is basically like, when you load stuff off a disk, like JPEGs and PNGs, they have to be parsed. And I just need the raw RGBs. And yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. So what I do is I take that data stream that's pre-parsed and I store it in files. And I just store along with it, like, you know, where does the first byte in that asset start? How big is it? And then just serialize it directly to the structure and store one handle to a file, and it loads, like, instantaneously, basically. I mean, of course, if it's a big file, it'll take a little bit longer, but, like, the game loads pretty darn fast at the moment. Yeah. And so that's loading everything off a disk, shaders and whatnot. And it loads shaders, like, essentially the same way. There's just one file that compresses all the data into one. Like, all the shaders are compressed into one file. And it just loads them off of that. So I'm wrapping up the engine code to do that. And then this upcoming month, I'll be working on a third-person camera. Because the Reclaimer is a third-person game. The engine I'm using does all that for me. Yeah. I totally get that. So the reason I'm doing this, like, there's an intro video that my past self can articulate a little bit better, but on my YouTube channel by the same name, The Reclaimer, like, this one, this Twitch channel is The Reclaimer Developer, but on YouTube it's just The Reclaimer. And why I'm doing it is, like, I'm kind of, like, I'm pretty old school, and I miss the days when, you know, games just sort of worked out of the box, and they performed well. And I'm not saying that there's a problem with engines. I have no problem with it at all. Like, there's a lot of engines out there that look absolutely gorgeous. But I'm just kind of very nostalgic for, like, the old school ways of doing things. And it's just sort of a passion project for me at the moment. And so I'm spending this year to try to get the, like, most of the game's subsystems working, and then use those to make a demo, hopefully to pitch to investors. I don't know how that'll work, but I'm going to keep doing the next thing and the next thing as if it's a possibility that could happen. So, just taking things one step at a time and see how it goes. But, my man, your game looks absolutely gorgeous. Well done. And I'd love to see more of it. I don't know if you post to, I saw that post on Imgur, but if you are on any of the game dev subreddits, definitely check those out. They would love to see that. So, anyway, we got this little problem where things just kind of scale infinitely, and I don't know why. So, current window size and starting window size are different, but I haven't scaled it at all. See, I set the window size to here. I don't know, but let's see. My 2 pence with that is stay indie, do it yourself. Don't get over people involved. Honestly, there are plenty of places you can make money from it. Oh yeah. There's no way I'm counting on this at all. Like, right now, it's like a hobby, you know? I know it's possible. This is how things used to be done back in the days when there weren't licensed engines, or engines existed whose licensing fees were just insanely expensive. Like, it's never been easier to be a programmer in 2023. It only gets easier with time. And, you know, this is just basically, I downloaded Visual Studio, got the compiler up and running, and I have some simple build scripts, and I'm just trying to keep things as simple as possible. I use simple tools and simple code. It's just, you tell the computer what to do and it does it, you know? And, you know, if nothing else, this is a learning experience. Either people, and, you know, documenting it, you know, maybe somebody can benefit from it, you know? But this is just sort of where I'm going for right now. But anyway, I'll show you the, back to the schedule. Like, today's the last day of the month, I think. Yes. Yeah. So, February is going to be about player controls and, like, implementing a third-person over-the-shoulder camera, reminiscent of, like, Dead Space, Last of Us, the brand new God of Wars, etc. And, hopefully getting that working, and then moving on to, like, getting the character playing around in a actual, like, developer sandbox. And that green character you saw, like, he's the main character, and that is just, like, a temporary, like, asset I threw together that was modeled very quick and dirty off of a, like, here's, like, an example proportional, like, human figure, and I just, like, drew a, like, box character, like, in Blender. So, I am not an artist at all. I'm a programmer by trade. Let's see. It's taken me 6 years from knowing zero to get as far as I've got, and I'm not even 10% done yet. You will never be done. You are 0% done. It is all about the journey. There is no destination. You know, it's like, sure, like, projects have their day where they start and they finish. But, you know, this is a field where it's all about learning, continuous improvement. Like, I have a dual master's in computer science and engineering, and I'm learning new things every day. And so, like, I say that not to, like, tout my skills. If anything, what I've learned from my time in school, you know, all those years ago, and, like, even my day job, what I do day to day, is I learned that there's so much that I don't know. Like, I knew enough I was thrown introductory material that was like, these are some things that are out there. And it's like, I'm learning things that I didn't know existed all the time. And so, you know, there was this quote that's like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's like, there's always going to be new things to learn. I can make tile sheets I make from my game, then take them and make them into 3D blocks, but when it comes to character sheets, I don't know how to make that face. Just that's a different question. I'm struggling with that right now. Just a day at a time. Definitely visit the game dev subreddits. There's a ton of them out there. And that would be a good question. I'm not really sure how to do character sheets, just because it's a different architecture than what I'm doing. Let's see. I think I'm going to be streaming for about another 30 minutes, but I want to try to get this annoying little problem out of the way. Because for some reason, the starting window size and current window size are different. Let's see, starting window size, because they should be the same, right? So they go into that function exactly the same. And so when they are initialized, they get called into the display textures. And if you are new to the stream, thank you, welcome. I'm just working on a little annoying bug, and I'll kind of show what's going on. Let's see. And what we got here is, like, I want to show these images. That's probably too big for right now, but I have this texture that I want to display, and, like, I'm just having trouble scaling it. Like, there's, originally it wasn't scaling at all, but I need to resize this viewport, which, I've only been working on this, one particular problem for a couple of minutes, so it's not really that big a deal. But, just trying to figure out a way to do that. And my original thought was just, as a, maybe a naive way to fix that was to figure out what the difference is between the two, and then just add them together. But honestly, I think a better way to do that would be to maybe do some sort of scaling as well, because the scale should be 1-to-1, right? We know that we start with a scale of 1, and like on both axes, and so if we were to multiply, the x and y by 1, of course they would be different, or they would be the same, rather. I'm sorry. So what we essentially have is a ratio. We could try that and see if that works. Let's see what happens. After all, the scientific method is just basically fuck around and find out. And so that's essentially what it is. You fuck around, you find out, you learn, bam, profit. The issue, I can find base characters, sure, but everyone I find is just the walk cycles. No attacks, pushing, pulling, being down, dead, and jumping. Okay, so that's like the different, like, states of animation for the character, right? So basically sprites, essentially. So did you make those assets yourself? Yeah, okay. But yeah, the art style looks really pretty. I think we got a newcomer in the chat. I want to show this guy's work off really quick. Let me pull it up again. Here we go. Like, I thought it was, like, really reminiscent of, like, Pokemon Red and, Blue, but, like, I don't know, and then the colors popped in. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Anyway, let's try to fix this really quick. So what we could do is say, like, we know what the starting height is and the starting width. So, oh, well, thank you, good sir. You followed and subbed. I appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And of course, you know, it's never expected, but always appreciated. Thank you. So what we could do is say, just times the scale, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to take the starting size, and we're just going to multiply it by the scale and then see what happens. Times equals texture info window scale dot x and then y. Let's see what that does. It's like in all my experience, like I will never not just be like, oh, let's compile and see what happens. Okay, that did not work. Oh. Because my math is entirely wrong. We don't want to plus equals the starting size times the scale. No. Just times the scale. See what that does. Well, kinda. But then again, it looks like it messed up the, I mean, it's moving that, but... You know what? This is kind of weird. Like, let's see. I would be deving now, but I kind of got into Elden Ring, being my first Dark Souls type game I've played. It's bloody hard and addicting. I have not played Elden Ring yet. I really, 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 really want to. It's just a matter of just being really busy, and it's like I spend most of my time like working on this thing than actually playing games. But you say it's your first like Dark Souls type game. My brother in Christ, you have to play Dark Souls. Playing Dark Souls is definitely like a core memory for me. Dark Souls 1 and I haven't played Dark Souls 2, but Dark Souls 1 and 3, like they are, like Dark Souls 2 is sort of like an outlier. Like it's not bad. But its story is a little bit disconnected from, like 1 and 3 are they are like in the same, what you could say like story arc with like, I don't want to give things away, but it's like you play Dark Souls 1 and you see like the just insane amount of detail and world building that they did, and the such a rich lore And then you play Dark Souls 3, and there are so many callbacks to Dark Souls 1. It's absolutely incredible. You but again, it is an extreme challenge. They are bloody difficult. My best piece of advice would probably be don't start as a sorcerer or a spellcaster, because those, I would say those classes are pretty difficult if you don't already know where a bunch of the spells and stuff are. I mean, you would have to like discover them and look up tutorials or whatever, but you know, classes that are just straight up just hammer smash or sword stab. But yeah, absolutely incredible titles. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. But I will play Elden Ring one day. So. So. So we got this problem where those two values are simply not the same, and I don't know why. So if I were to just do this, so it's the first time it's being called. So I load up Adam's texture, and so what I have is current size, and then let's go ahead and get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. Let's go ahead and pull window scale. No. We need starting window size and current window size. These should be exactly the same, and I don't know why. They aren't. Like, I literally told it to set it as the starting window size. So it's like, what the heck, dude? Well, 384 and 206. Let's just see what happens when I do that. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I told it to do something and it didn't do it. This is why, one reason why I don't like using libraries. Because it's like, the next window size on its first use ever should be these dimensions. And then, literally, the next one that I create. So, like, window and size. Yeah, it is just flat out not the same. So, So what I could do is, like, are there flags that say if it's its first use ever? How about this? So, if I were to say, I'm GUI is window first use ever. I don't know, dude. That's really freaking annoying. That's pretty ridiculous. Unless it has a minimum size. So, like... Let's just, see what's going on here. So, like... I can make it as small as I want. So... So supposedly this is like 300 something pixels. Plus 35. Yeah, I don't know. Does that change the window height? Because I'm trying to figure out why it isn't... Like, it's initializing it to a different bloody value, and I don't know why. Because if I did this, like, check it out. I'm GUI, like, set window size. And I just said texture, info, starting window size, right? And let's just, remove that and launch it. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, it will set the window size. Like, this is what I expected it to be out of the box. But it did something different. That's ridiculous. Can it have flags? Set window size, first use ever. How about that? Okay, that's more like it, right? So now, let's bring our scaling back. I wish the documentation was better with I'm GUI. Okay, that is more like it. So now we can bring the width and the height scaling back as well. And let's just see what happens. And if this doesn't work, I'll do the original idea again of just... Okay, that... It's, like, inverse of what it needs to be, but... Why? Times the scale. I mean... We can divide it. It's just confusing to me how these things work. It doesn't scale 1-to-1 though. Like think that kind of works. But my original idea was to, like, figure out the pixel difference and go from there. So, got about maybe 15-ish minutes. And, go from there. And then I'll probably, like, wrap up, commit this, and then call this month's work complete. So, so what we'll do is we'll go back. Let's, you know, save this, just in case something doesn't work. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these guys and we're going to plus equal on that and say we'll do current window size minus texture info dot starting window size, and it'll be, you know, respective of that. And there's probably, like I mentioned this before, but there's you could see that there was an overloaded operator, right? So there might be a way to do this automatically, but I wanted to do it by hand first and just get like a baseline because I don't know if it's gonna work, and I would rather just, like, you know, sometimes like by the time you just try something and see if it works, like, you would have figured it out. So let's just see if that works. That still didn't work. Current window size. That's so infuriating. Like, why does that not work? Because those should be exactly the same. Right? So what's the window size? Current window size is that, and then starting window size. Why does it do that? I don't know why it does that. So that is insane to me. That's insanity. Oh, and here comes the goober. Gaia, what you doing? I don't know. She's probably just being annoying downstairs. But I'm not crazy, right? So starting window size. That's insane. Why would it do that? Hello, Gaia. Oh, hello. We're a house full of crazy critters here. Alright, Gaia, can you off? Daddy's trying to get something working. Okay. So, I don't know why those two values are different, because, like, I tell it, it's like, this is the exact dimensions I want you to be set at, and it doesn't do it. So, let's go back to, like, are we stopped? Yeah. It's halted. So, I can throw that for you. Out. You gotta let go, Gaia. There we go. Gaia, you want to learn how to program in C++? Or do you want me to throw this in for you? Alright. So it's doing it again. It's doing it again. Like, am I crazy? I swear, like, it was working a minute ago. Hi, Gaia. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix something. But I said, like, remember, like, I'm trying to... I'm just like, well, that was more like it. And it was working, right? At least initializing a window with the dimensions. Gaia, can you out? If you don't let go, how am I going to throw it? Out. There you go. So anyway, let's... Hello, Gaia. That's the hand that I'm using with the mouse, and I can't do the thing. That is annoying, man. That is really annoying. What if I did this? Like, what if I just said straight up that we're gonna say the texture, we're just gonna, like, let's, for kicks and giggles, we're gonna say current window size. I mean, that kind of works, but... But the window needs to be slightly larger. You know? That kind of works a bit. But I swear it was working. You see, I don't know why it does things and well, there's also the issue, what was this doing? Right? Like, what if I just have those, like, exactly the same? What happens? Ugh. You know what? You know what? We're not even gonna do that. We're gonna just remove this entirely. Don't even need it. And then we're going to get some errors because we're not adjusting the scale anymore. Or at least it's not being referenced properly. So window scale. Alright, I don't think that works. Okay, so it's scaling proportionally, but you know, we're back to the problem of, like, it's... I'd really like to get this fixed. But you know what? I think more than any, this is a good place to probably stop for tonight, honestly. Because things are scaling, this is absurdly big, but I could still, you know, I could probably just add some logic in there later to, you know, like, let's say if it's over a certain, like, cap it at the, shoot, maybe like a quarter of the main Windows real estate, something like that, and just scale it proportionally, you know. Gosh, that took forever. But it's at least scaling. So we have that. It's not perfect, but I like that a little bit better. And maybe I can, because we're also doing that thing where we are, I think we're deinitializing the pointer before we close the window. Right? So what we would want to do is close the window first and then uninitialize the memory. So what do we do down here? Actually, do we even need to destroy it? Well, we do. But I think it goes through that one more time. That's the problem. But you see, I've already displayed it. It's not that big a deal. You know what? We're gonna call this done. Okay? So let's just make sure we don't check in something bad. And we're gonna say, you know, we worked. Let's update the to-do here. Okay. We figured out how to scale it, but scaling. We are scaling, but it's not 100% accurate. We have to account for like window size versus image size, because right now they're exactly the same, and the window size has to be slightly bigger, because if they're exactly the same, then things like the scroll bars are going to be like eating up some of the image's real estate. So we want to fix that. Window size versus image size, and what was it? Window size versus image size, and capping the initial size. As well as scaling proportionally, because we would want, ideally we would want it to resize. As you resize one, it would resize the other, like on the different axes. So what we're gonna do, worked scaling the textures in the DevTools. Save all and commit. I hate it when that happens. But I think we're gonna call it right here. And So, I think that's going to be it. And that officially brings the work on the asset tables to a close. And we will be sticking to schedule. The only issue that I haven't done right now, or that's going on, is, like, I haven't, like, put the website up, which is going to be, it will have the official stream schedule, because I'll stream once a month on when things wrap up, right? So the next stream will be at the end of February, when hopefully there's stuff to report on player controls and third-person camera. I'll be streaming regardless, but I'll have more of a focus in mind. Like, you know, I'm actually trying to, like, clean this up, get it in a stable state to check it in and begin the next sprint. So, and, like, to-dos, bug fixes, and things like that, we'll be working on those in June. So, full steam ahead. I appreciate everybody who dropped by, and, you know, I'm having a blast working on this thing. It has its frustrating moments, like tonight. But, you know, that's all part of it. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by, and I'll see you all in the next video.